Visby, Gotland.
So, then we are now in the old harbour of Visby. Around 800 years ago we couldn't have been standing here because then it was all water. This was the harbour basin of Visby, and in the medieval time, yeah. Don't do anything, normally they fly away. You are a very sweet person. You have to imagine that Visby, from the beginning, in the Viking Age, we're talking around 700-800 AD, was just a small trading place for the Vikings. There were no people living here the whole year around, and they were only using the harbour here in the summertime when they were sailing maybe to the other Baltic States over the Baltic Sea. Around the year 1000, people started to settle in the city of Visby and live here. And at the same time, the trading with the city of Visby started to grow a lot. In the year 1100, let's say 50, something like that, the Hanseatic people from Germany, the Hansa was a big trading organization with a lot of people from different countries, but the main part, of course, was in northern Germany. They came here to Visby and found that Visby was one of the best places in the Baltic Sea to trade. There were a couple of reasons for it. The harbour here was very good, and at the same time the Gotlandic people already had trading agreements with the Russians in Novgorod. And the Hanseatic people then could just join the Gotlandic tradesmen and go over and start their trade in Russia. So because of this, Visby as a city and as a village grew very, very fast. And around the year 1200 AD, Visby was the biggest city in the Baltic region. We had around 9,000 inhabitants in the city. At that time, Stockholm, with the capital of Sweden, had around 900 inhabitants. So Visby was at that time roughly 10 times bigger than Stockholm. This trade and the growth of Visby continued to the beginning of the 14th century. At that time then, the ships of the Hansa became bigger, they could load more, and they didn't need maybe Visby as a transit harbour, because earlier they brought a lot of goods here, they stored them here, and then continued the trip to the other regions of the Baltic area. But around 1300, 1320, the Hanseatic people more or less left Visby, and the declining period of Gotland and Visby started. It all ended in the year 1361, because then the Danish king Valdemar Atterdag came and invaded Gotland and Visby, and more or less closed the whole island for trading with the outside. From then on, for around 250, 300 years, more or less nothing went on here in Visby. Everything just declined. The Danish also raised the taxes here on the island. We had paid a sort of a small tax to the Swedish king before that, though we were not real Swedish here on the island, but we paid a small tribute to him every year to get his protection, more or less. But the Danish, when they came, they raised the taxes with 3,000%. So after that, after we had become Danish in 1361, there was no money left to continue to build, there was no money left to do nothing, and everything just went down. But you have to imagine that the view over Visby must have been totally fantastic in the medieval time, because in the lower part here you had houses like the storehouse you see over there with the steps on the side. The whole street down here was just covered with those. They had just two houses, small alley, two houses, a small alley, the whole road. And Visby as a city is built up in 3 different levels, so that more or less when you saw it from the seaside, right up and just became higher and higher. In the highest area, the highest part of Visby is where you see now the 3 bell towers of our big cathedral, St. Mary's Church, which we'll later visit. That's at the top of the city, that's the highest level of the medieval city. So it must have been a fantastic view, especially if you were, for example, from the countryside somewhere, and you came here with a boat, maybe a young boy, a young girl, whatever, first time. Must have been a little bit the same impression as when the immigrants came to Manhattan. beginning of 1900 or end of 1800, because everything was very, very big compared to what they were used to. So you have to imagine Visby as a very big city, one of the major cities in this area when we go back around 1,000 years ago. We'll follow that route and continue.